This episode is sponsored by UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics and the UPMC Sports Medicine Concussion Program. UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics and the UPMC Sports Medicine Concussion Program are proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor the 2022 High School Football Preview on the Altoona Mirror YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons, their specially trained concussion management experts, and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, or to schedule an appointment in one of their facilities in Hollidaysburg, Ebensburg, or Bedford, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho or call 814-889-3600. That's 814-889-3600. I should have worn gold.
Gotta remind myself to.
I could have worn gold. Maybe people would think I like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's too bad we can't do like in the old football shows and like dun 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 dun.
Dan, can you do that? Can you like Photoshop floating helmets? Come on, special effects. You're George Lucas. I've called you Spielberg. I've called him Hitchcock.
Hey, you know what?
Scorsese.
Dan wasn't here for this Friday night. We were talking about our guilty pleasure songs.
Yeah, different songs that we can have to introduce.
Yes.
I want to have a Victoria's Secret song by this girl named Jax. Because we sing it all the time.
Very good.
What's Victoria's Secret?
I know Victoria's Secret.
She's invented by a dude.
She was made up by a dude.
Dude! That's me trying to be young and hip to our young hip audience. Okay.
We found out that he really
we got it out of our system.
It's so good.
Anyway. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Week 8 of the high school football season here on YouTube on Mirror TV. Talking about lots of games today. Michael's picked out, so we're going to start right away because we don't have anything to show off, like the stuff behind us. Nothing. Every time there was a knock at the door, I thought it might be somebody bringing us something, maybe from a Portage. Maybe from, I'm trying to think, some other schools that have Central Cambria. Is there anything behind us from Central Cambria?
I don't think so. Cambria Heights, but not
Cambria, but no, Penn Cambria, but nothing from that Maroon school.
I know.
Which I don't think the Maroon school is going to send us anything.
That was crazy.
I know.
How about Juniata Valley? We added them back to coverage area.
Yeah.
And they were good. They always sent us stuff when we weren't covering them, which was lovely. But yes, it would be nice to get something from Juniata Valley. But hey, we're going to persevere. We're going to move on because Michael has a bunch of games. Real quick, for those of you who don't know, but you should know, I'm joined. My name is Scott Franco. I'm joined by Michael Boyden and Andy Stein here, and we're going to get going right off the bat. Our first game, Central Dauphin 2-5 at Altoona 5-2, and I got to think Central Dauphin's probably a pretty good 2-5 team.
They are, and this will be a tough game for Altoona, regardless of what the records look like. Altoona, the one thing that Coach Niedermeyer told me is that he's been really happy with their depth this year. They have a little bit more depth than usual. He can plug in guys, if someone gets banged up and they don't lose too much, and the guys know what they're doing. But Central Dauphin has two running backs that both have over 500 yards rushing. So it's going to be a matchup of the lines in this one, I think.
There you go. When you would be in high school and you saw you were playing a 2-5 team, did you sit there and think, oh my God, are the high school kids kind of maybe, not that you weren't smart, but are they smarter nowadays that they maybe read up on stuff in the Mirror and other media?
I'm sure Vince Niedermeyer's talking to them about, hey, they might be 2-5, but hey, I mean, they're not a 2-5 type of team. I mean, the term is trap games, so I mean, I think that gets thrown around a lot around the fans, but maybe not so much the kids.
And then, I guess some of their losses were probably like Cumberland Valley, Harrisburg.
Yeah, they had some tough out of conference games as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to play the teams that Altoona has beaten later in the season.
I still think it helps Altoona that they're home for this one. Our next game, wow, another good one. Central 5-2 at Bedford 5-2. And the Laurel Highlands is just like a gauntlet every week. What do you see happening with this one?
Well, these teams have met in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. Bedford won 2 years ago. Central won last year. And these teams, not just in football, but they've met up in basketball and baseball. These are 2 schools that have very good athletic programs, and they're going neither one's going to probably win the Laurel Highlands this year because they both have the 2 losses. But this is a big game because these teams want to beat each other. I think that is more important than anything, playing for a conference title, any of that stuff. If you're playing somebody that beat you in the playoffs last year, you want to beat them.
Were you surprised when Central, it started out with kind of slow, and then all of a sudden they bounced back? Or did you kind of think, well, they still have home and stuff?
I mean, week 1. I mean, I know everybody looked forward to that BG game. Of course, they had a chance to win that BG game, as I remember, and it wasn't surprising at all to see them bounce back. That's for sure.
And also, did they not always? They had the other loss is the Penn Cambria game.
Well, they beat BG.
They beat BG, and who their 2 losses are Central Cambria and Richland.
Yeah.
Not Central Cambria.
They lost to Penn Cambria.
Penn Cambria and Richland.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever have anybody that was a big rival like that? I mean, like Michael was saying, you just really want to beat them because you played them so much and so.
Absolute Glendale for sure. And the one time I lost to Glendale was my senior year, so I didn't get that one back either.
And then you guys probably played wrestling, basketball. So there was
absolutely.
Was there respect or was it hate?
Oh, I love those guys outside of that one day a year, for sure.
Because the way Max Shoemaker, just to talk about Chestnut Ridge, when he's saying about Central, he said these kids aren't just, they're friends. They know each other off, and I'm just curious about Central and Bedford because there's a little bit more separation there. But
I think social media has helped to make kids more friendly.
Certainly. And then, talk about big games. Michael was saying that's a big game. Our third game here, Mike has picked out. I mean, it's Penn Cambria 7-0 and Richland 7-0. Are you going to that game?
I am not.
Who's on there? Can't wait to see.
John Fleck.
John Fleck's got that game because I'm trying to remember who I picked. I think I picked Richland. If it would have been Penn Cambria, what do you expect in this one?
Well, I expect that Penn Cambria, I picked Penn Cambria. And why did I pick Penn Cambria? Because it seems like Penn Cambria somehow comes up with the big plays to win every one of these games. I wanted to pick Richland. Everything told me, Penn Cambria's luck might run out. Well, if you do it so many times and you win so many games, at some point it's not luck. And at some point it's how to win those close games. Garrett Harold's a winner. And I think he was motivated going into the season. I remember when we did the Blitz magazine, I asked Kieswetter, I asked Hohenstein, I asked Garrett Harold, who's the best quarterback on this magazine? They were all, Hohenstein and Kieswetter wanted to give credit to everyone. Garrett Harold said, I'm the best. And he's trying to prove it this year, and he's really doing a great job.
Well, I still can't let go of it. Mike thinks I have hang-ups on junior high football. Richland struggled to beat Forest Hills back in that. It was week 1, I know, and I thought, wow, Richland must be down. But they're 7-0, a 7-0 down team. But they're home. I mean, when you look at something like that, do you end up just taking the home team if you have to? Because Northern Bedford was undefeated as long with Conemaugh Township, and they crushed Conemaugh Township. And they were both undefeated teams.
Bedford that game, and I don't know why I must have thought Northern Bedford. I must have liked Northern Bedford that game, but I picked Richland. Richland's been here before. This is nothing new for them. That's why I picked them. And I know I said earlier this season that I'm not about to go against Penn Cambria anymore. Well, I kind of did, and if it comes back to bite me, it does.
They're using this probably as bulletin board, unless you can put our video on a bulletin board. I don't know, technology. You young kids and everything probably know how to do that. But I think somebody's going to be watching Penn Cambria to see where they fall in the district standings, because our next game, which Mike has it perfectly here, Tyrone 6-1. They're a game behind Penn Cambria in the District 6 3A rankings. They are at a 5-2 Penns Valley team. The question I'm going to ask you: how good is Penns Valley?
Well, Penns Valley has been good this season, and I think they're right there with Bald Eagle area, which obviously Bald Eagle area did a number on Tyrone. But hey, Tyrone, great bounce back win against Clearfield. Clearfield's quarterback was out that game, but it was still a nice win. And Ashton Walk really stepped up and did a nice job. Came up with the big plays when he needed to, both running and throwing the ball. Still, I'm concerned about Tyrone's inability to run the football. I think that is going to be something that is going to hurt them at some point. And I don't know if it's maybe this game, but that is a big concern, because the three teams in the 3A playoffs are Penn Cambria, Tyrone, and Central. And if Tyrone's going to be there with Penn Cambria and Central, they're going to have to develop more of a run game.
And would that be a bye with just three? Like the number one seed will get the bye, they'll have an off week, and the other two will play.
Yeah, I would think so, because I don't think a fourth team is going to.
Yeah, because that's not Westmont, is it? I'm trying to think who would be in that. I'm curious, were you surprised? Were you in here Friday night?
I wasn't here Friday.
You were surprised because even it was at Clearfield, and we heard right away on the radio that the quarterback was out for Clearfield.
Yeah.
But they jumped out to a 47 lead, and I went, oh my gosh, Chinoco's got them. They're going to win a game with their backup quarterback.
And had I known last week that Clearfield's quarterback was going to be out, I would have probably picked Tyrone. But like Mike said, that's a really nice bounce back win, and they really needed it after the loss to Bald Eagle.
I had to pick Tyrone because I don't want my mother to haunt me. I think my mother would have the ability to come down from heaven. That's right, I should come down from heaven and haunt me for not picking them. Our next game, another good game with two good records. Juniata Valley 5-2 at Windber 6-1. The only thing I only know about Windber is they're always on the highlights and they're always winning. How good is this Windber team?
Well, Windber's averaging a ton of yards per rush, and this is a really interesting matchup. And I'll tell you what, somebody who will be watching this game is Gary Black from Northern Bedford as they get ready for Glendale, which is another pretty decent game. Glendale,
big fan of the show.
Glendale's won 3 in a row. Northern Bedford obviously 7-0, but Northern Bedford's going to have their eye on this game because it's looking like Windber and Northern Bedford are on a collision course in the playoffs. And Juniata Valley is a team that Northern Bedford plays here in a week or two, and that is going to be something that they need to see how they match up, because last year Windber did a number on Northern Bedford, and Juniata Valley, maybe if they go there and give Windber a good game, that's some confidence for the guys in Loysburg.
And would it be a neutral site if Windber plays
Northern
Bedford?
Bedford championship, because they're probably going to be the number 1 and 2 seeds.
Because I was wondering if he's hoping they lose enough that he would host, but they didn't. When they get to a championship game, it's no more hosting or anything like that. I'm curious, our next game we're going to talk about Cambria Heights, another good. Cambria Heights 6-1 at Penns Manor 7-0. Penns Manor just wiping up everybody, but I keep thinking Cambria Heights is the bigger school. They have bigger kids, but Penns Manor pretty good. That's the game you got, right?
Yes, that's the game I have, and Cambria Heights beat them last year 49-12, and they have a lot of the same guys back, but Penns Manor has turned things around this year. If you remember, Penns Manor actually lost to Glendale in the playoffs last year. That was a huge win for Glendale, and since that game, they've been on fire. And it's kind of like last year when Cambria Heights had that great season. The community is really rallying around these kids at Penns Manor, and I expect there to be a big crowd out there. But if Cambria Heights wins this game, they're in the driver's seat to win the Heritage Conference again. I know I jinxed Cambria Heights at the beginning of the year when they lost to Northern Cambria in the first game of the season. But if they beat Penns Manor here, they're going to be the number 1 seed in the district playoffs probably. So I just want to remind people that I never changed my pick.
Hey, and I'm curious just from you because you played. Do coaches start in their pep talks during the week? Do they bring up seeding, or is that something they just probably talk among themselves?
Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing my coaches talk about seeding or anything, but
So even if you're playing a team, and because Mo Valley played some playoff games, they played BG many years ago in the district championship game at Mansion Parkway. So they don't use that at all as far as like, hey, we want to have that number one, we want to have that home game.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a little bit of excitement about that around town. I wasn't around them back then, but back then in Mo Valley.
That's how old he is.
Yeah, exactly. But and I know it brings a lot of excitement around there with the communities. But I think if you're on the team, you probably get lost and everything, trying to get prepared and everything.
I got to think that's going to be a quick game too, because doesn't Heights run a lot and Penns Manor runs a lot?
Yeah, Penns Manor's only thrown for about 300 yards this season, and I think Cambria Heights has thrown for like 445.
So you could be back here soon Friday night to be with us on our big powwow here, right?
Isn't that the dream?
It is. It's why Mike races back to the Mirror Building here on Cayuga Avenue. Our last game, and this is going to be a nearby game. It's a Saturday night, and I'm not sure how many good college football games are on Saturday night. All the good ones are on at noon. Chestnut Ridge 6-1 at BG 5-2. These games are really hard to pick this week because BG's 5-2, but they could be 7-0. Chestnut Ridge 6-1. Chestnut Ridge lost to Central. I can't even sit there and say, well, they lost to Central, but Chestnut Ridge has a good shot in this game, do you think?
Well, Chestnut Ridge is very happy to be 6-1, and BG is probably very upset to be 5-2.
I would kill BG.
The Lions have a really young team, and I talked to Max Shoemaker this week, and he's extremely thrilled with how the young players have come along. That said, Ridge beat BG last year, and that's got to be on BG's mind. Tell you something interesting. Coach Wheeler told me their third quarter against Forest Hills, he felt was the best quarter they've played in the last 10 years, and they've won state championships. So
it's a tough guy.
So so if BG can keep that up, watch out in the 2A playoffs.
Who did you pick, and do you remember? I know it's been a while since you picked it and everything.
I know.
A couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. No, I picked BG, but then again, hey, Ridge having a nice season. Tough game to pick right now, and hey, wouldn't be surprised if Ridge does pull it off. But yeah, I did go with BG.
Does it matter where it's at? If it was at Ridge, would you have picked Ridge?
No, I don't think so. I think
I might have picked Ridge just because I think home, the comfort factor when they're this close records.
I don't know. I think I have a lot of faith in BG and winning this one. There's a lot of talent there.
I took BG. We're going to do now our fun stuff here, our trio. We're going to start with Mike's stat of the week, and I'm anxious because I don't know. He doesn't leak any information on his stat of the week, so I'm ready. I'm waiting with bated breath. Is that the correct way to say that, Daniel? Thank you. Our director, George Lucas, back there. Go ahead.
Well, Scott, I'm going to say you are not the only person that has people emailing you suggestions for your segment. I got a suggestion this week, so I am going to go ahead and read the stat of the week provided by Bob Pastrico. Cambria Heights has not allowed any scores in the second half of any game this year since the first game of the year. 0. Big 0 in the third and fourth quarters of the last 6 contests.
We love that interaction and people sending us stuff because it's funny. Before we do Steins, I'd say I got an email from Cambria Heights people too, but go ahead with our Steins line. Does it have anything to do with Cambria Heights?
It does not. No.
It doesn't. So this could have been like a big Highlanders, Patton, and whatever other towns are up there.
I'll say that survive the first half for Cambria Heights, then you might be good.
Short steps. Short steps are better than long steps.
Okay, so my line of the week this week is Juniata Valley. They had a 34-14 win over Tussey Mountain last week. This is the stat that really popped out to me. 381 yards rushing. Yeah, I think Jacob Rodkey had 240 some.
Yeah, and he only had 111 the whole season going into that.
Yeah, I saw Juniata Valley the week before last week, and Rodkey was a good player and everything, but McMonagle was definitely the main rusher. But hey, awesome job for those guys. Their line, here we go, is left tackle Noah Rowland, left guard Sean Rafe Snyder, center Sam Parks, right guard Justin Brubaker, right tackle Alex Brantner, and they have a bunch of fullbacks, H-backs, tight ends that they like to rotate around and play schemes and everything like that. Their guys are Eli McFadden, Foster England, Gavin Muster, and Luke Uplinger. And I don't have any college football news this week, so.
And Foster England was one of our cool
Yes, he
names.
was.
From the week one.
I wonder if when those guys come off the line and come over to the bench, they probably towel themselves off from their sweat and everything. Maybe send us one of those Juniata Valley towels, not the ones with sweat.
Wash them.
But the fact is that you mentioned so many names, you would think one parent from that list.
Hey, Bill Muster gave me a
would
bunch of
send us
names
that.
right there. So.
Especially because we got a parent that sent us the Cambria Heights towel. That was a parent of a lineman. That sent us,
exactly.
Not that we're begging. We're not begging.
We would really like
We
it.
are not begging. You know what?
We would really like it.
But it leads me to my favorite part of the show.
I wanna know what's the name of the game.
Mike's not favorite part of the show. And Andy, who I used to think before when he just started the show, he was just trying to suck up
Nope.
to the thing, but he truly likes the cool. Because
There
we
we go,
see
there we go.
names all the time on college
Yeah.
and pro, we're like going, oh, that would have been such a cool name to put on. But our cool names this week's a Chestnut Ridge kid, Gerard Wolfhope. I just like the sound of that. Wolfhope by itself would have been a good name, and Gerard would have been. He's a junior from Chestnut Ridge, wide receiver, cornerback, and then this is just a cool name. It's a Deacon Brown. It's Deken.
Wow.
He's a junior offensive lineman, defensive lineman from Claysburg, Kimball. Gerard Wolfhope. Deacon Brown. When I was in Lewistown 15 years, there was a kid down there. His last name was Wolfkill. Chris
That's even better.
Wolfkill. And he was a real
that's
gritty
really
ball
good.
player. I mean, he loved to win. He didn't like losing.
Wow.
Good athlete. He's grown up now. I don't know if he gets this, but
I picture it would be like a Brian Bosworth.
His dad was named Dave Wolfkill. Dave was a coach. He was like, but that's a great name. I shouldn't even think that's their name, but if we do
Wolfhope's
that,
good too.
But Wolfhope. So Gerard Wolfhope, Chestnut Ridge, Deacon Brown, Claysburg, Kimmel. Okay, Mike's done now looking up all this stuff on his
Hey,
phone.
we only wasted 1 minute and 5 seconds that time. That's pretty good.
And that's even talking about
Week.
Chris Wolfkill, Indian
Yeah.
Valley stud
We
athlete.
got a good minute and a
Maybe
half.
he'll write to me and go, hey, you remembered me. How could you forget the name Wolfkill?
It's great.
Do you know what their nickname was? Wolfie.
Oh, absolutely.
Wolfie.
Absolutely.
Wolfie
There we go.
Wolfkill.
I like that name.
There we go. Anyways, that'll do it for week. I have to look down at my paper. Week 8 of our show. For Mike Boydum, for Andy Stein, for George Lucas doing his Star Wars special effects behind the camera. Dan Eisenberg. I'm Scott Franco. We will see you next week on week 9, hopefully with a tie.